time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. It's a Monday, it's lunchtime, and you're with the guys. It's Nielson, Gage, Matt Kassian, Kassian and Salas as well. If you're watching on the live stream, feel free to comment at any moment. Also, if you're watching on the live stream, whether it be on my Twitter feed or on Facebook.com/TSN1260, subscribe to the podcast so you do not miss an episode. It's all brought to you by CoolBet Canada. Stay cool, bet responsibly. If you sign up for an account at CoolBet right now, and use the promo code 2guys, you will get hooked up with a 100% deposit bonus up to $200. Boys, how was the weekend? Gager, how was the weekend, man?
It was really good. A little cold this weekend, but it just seemed to fly by. I was looking forward to that game, but kind of underwhelming. But we got another one tonight, so. That was my focus, was that kind of big game, and it didn't live up to my my hopes and admiration, I guess. So
I had a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old who were stoked to watch the entire game before bedtime. And late second, Marshall's like, "Daddy, we don't have to watch the third." I said, "Well, Daddy has to watch the third for work anyway, buddy. So we're watching it." And then 5 minutes left. From the last 5 minutes, the whole time he's just like, Cass, it's frustrating when that's the one game you get to watch and then they lay that dud.
Yeah, for your kids, it's unfortunate. I think back to that as a kid too, where you get frustrated with that. And one of my favorite things, it was back when people still received papers in the morning, was it was a race between me and my dad to see who got the paper. Because if I had to go to bed and miss the game, I would want to read about it and see the scores in the news the next day. But yeah, that was the worst when you were going to get to stay up to see the whole thing, because normally you had to go to bed, and they just stunk it out. It was just, I remember actually going in person in games a few times too as a kid, and that was even worse. Was when if they stunk it out and you were at the game as a kid, you're just like, this is horrible. This is the worst thing in the world. I'm actually here, and they stink it up. So it was unfortunate that we got that one on Saturday.
Buddy, you're right. I'm thinking first Habs game, or first NHL game I ever went to was Flyers Flames in Calgary. Then I went to a Habs game when I was 13-ish. That one worked out well. And then the next year, Christmas tickets, for Christmas, my present was tickets to a Habs game in Calgary in February, and we went, and they got shut out. And my Christmas present was watching my own team get shut out in the one NHL game that I got to go to that year. So yeah, man, that could be frustrating. You just don't see it that way now as an adult. But shit, did that suck?
I went to.
Go ahead.
I went to his first round too. I was invited by Mo to come watch the game at his drinking establishment. So it was I had added anticipation for something. Lots of Oiler jerseys downtown walking around, even though there was a buzz in the air, and it just someone let the air out of that balloon. That was awful.
What'd you have to drink?
I went with the first round IPAs. The nachos are really good. Some wings were brought to the table, and there was also a burger. It was the Heat burger. Oh my gosh, that was outstanding. Great bar, game day bar food. That's awesome in there. Really enjoyable.
Miss that stuff. Yeah. I've enjoyed. My wife's become a really good cook during COVID. We've been trying some pretty unique things. It's been great. But I miss having just, hitting up a bar for a game. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Hernan, how was post game on Saturday, buddy?
It was good. I think people were pretty relaxed. I mean, if you're going to complain about 11 of 13, I mean, we got bigger issues. But I think people just said, hey, wash this one away. Forget about it. Try to get the win on Monday. People were pretty chill, which was a welcome. It was welcome to the post-game show, as usually it's fire. But I think with the streak they were on, people kind of just let them get away with this one.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And you know what? We'll get to keep it or clip a little bit later on, but let's just dive right into it we got to talk about it. Because, Cass, I think this is kind of where you want to sort of start the podcast here.
Yeah, I wanted to start the podcast here. I wanted to start to talk about Flush'em games. And Gager knows what these are. They're the ones when the coach walks into the dressing room after the game and says, that was really bad. You guys know it. You guys feel it. We don't even have to talk about it. Let's reset and get ready for the next one. And you can see it reflected in Dave Tippett's press conference yesterday, where the mindset is really like, you know what, we've been playing really well. We're a really good team. We just have to move on from this and not get too high on ourselves and not get too low in that this was a bad game. And the benefit is to winning and winning a lot is every once in a while, if you have a bad one, you can just throw it away. You can just throw it away. And it's great to see them taking that mentality to it. I'm happy they're taking that mentality to it. Now they just have to move on, and you can't have two bad ones in a row. But it's important mentally, I think, that the team moves on from these and moves on from them quickly. And I actually view it as a positive that this is the approach that they're taking, and this is the viewpoint that they're taking. That it's like, you know what, we don't even need to unpack this one too much. We just need to flush it down the toilet. It was a poopy game, and we need to get rid of it.
Flush the poop. Episode 121. Flush the poop. Gager, is it easy to do that? I mean, let's say you're Mike Smith. You're not going to get to play tonight because of the way that game went. Like, is it difficult to just let that one go only when maybe you're playing well?
Yeah, he's old enough to let it go, and he's done that enough to be able to handle that. I think it's a little bit different if he played really bad and he was the reason they lost. I don't think he was the reason. The Spezza goal, I guess I'd have to say as an Oiler fan, I hated it, but as a Leaf fan, you're probably pretty pumped about it because it was the old. I think Struddy references that as the old Al Arbor hitch, where Al Arbor used to come down and do the big windup and then go around the goalie, but the goalie would rush the player back then, I think, at that point. So, but great goal. Yeah, I would flush it for sure. It's poopy. The only thing that when I heard it was a little bit frustrating is if the Oilers did go crazy and beat the Leafs, they could have been tied with them after this set, right? Like, so after losing that one, that's not possible, but they can still get close. But no, I want to see the Oilers play a game where that, seems like when they lose, the other team plays good, but you never see a real head-to-head matchup of both teams playing well. These are the top two teams in the North Division. I want to see both teams have really, really good games and be a measuring stick moving forward of how the rest of the season is going to pan out.
Hernan, what's your confidence like in this group to have the bounce back, if you want to call it that, tonight?
It's pretty high. I mean, they've been on such a roll, and they've shown they're a different team this year, right? Like, they're beating the good teams, they're beating struggling teams. In past years, always one or the other, and they got a different jam with this team right now. And it's funny about that game Saturday because it started off. Chason and Ennis had two sitters in front of the net that Campbell stopped, and then they had two other great looks. They just didn't hit the net on. Like, I wonder if the game changes there if they pot a few of those. But yeah, I mean, I agreed with Cass on Saturday, where it's one of those games you just put away and move on to the next. Listen, the Oilers were going to have a drop-off in one of these games, and Saturday, sure, why not? But now they still have an opportunity to take 2 of 3, and it starts tonight. But at the end of the day, I think everybody should be confident. We'll see how Mikko holds up tonight. He hasn't played in a while, but I like that Bouchard's in with Bear on the left side, so you got more puck-moving defensemen in this lineups, and up front they're staying the same, so we'll see what they have.
Cass, what do you think of that decision? Russell out, Bouchard to the left to play with Bear, who hasn't looked great since coming back. I'm very intrigued to see how Tippett handles this blue line when he's got Jones on one side on the left and Bouchard there, and those are two guys on two different pairs that he's protected a little bit. You can't do that with one. Like Jones tonight with Larson going to be thrown to the Wolves here against the Leafs. How do you expect it to play out, and do you like the decision to do what they're doing tonight?
It's an interesting one. I was a little surprised that that's the direction they went. I would have thought actually they would have went to the old 11-7.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Where it gives them a little bit more. So I was surprised that Russell comes out and Bouchard goes in. I'm happy Bouchard is in. I want him in and I want him playing. But they're going to have to rely on him a little bit more today. So it's going to be a challenge. Maybe they feel like they want a little bit more of the puck moving. An interesting thing to me about it is Russell plays a pretty passive game as a defenseman. Like he backs up, allows teams in. His typical play is to retreat back more than push out aggressively. And I think against the Maple Leafs, that was something that really hurt the Oilers as a whole. Not Russell specifically, but just a passive mindset where they were responsive. They weren't initiating in the defensive zone. Like there's a lot of sitting back, waiting, being overly patient. And I think with Bouchard, what they're hoping for is you're going to get a little bit higher on the aggressive side for not just playing defense, but for attacking as well, because just overall their game was too passive. So it's an interesting play. I guess we still could see 11-7. Who knows if that's exactly,
we could, you're right. I still think there's a chance that one Russell doesn't play and one Russell does, right? Like,
yeah. So there's still a possibility we see that. That to me would make more sense. However, you could be saying to Jones and to Bouchard as well, you know what, this is a big opportunity for you in a huge game. So you need to step up and to see what they're made of. I mean, that you could be challenging them with this too, if you're Dave Tippett. So interesting play if that's the direction they go, but not upset about it. Just intrigued.
Gage, what are your expectations for that blue line with these youngish playmakers being involved? Now, it's really the lineup that fans have wanted to see for a while, with Jones and Bouchard both in there.
I want to see it. I'm excited to see it. I think it's a great opportunity for some of these young guys to take a big step against the top team in the division right now. You always want to measure yourself against the best. No better time than now. I saw some clips of pregame skate of Bouchard taking passes off the wall on the side and dragging him to the middle a bit. But I think he's such a good player. I know he's young and there's going to be mistakes and you're going to have to live with them. But I think you have to put this guy in situations where he's counted on. I think just look at Darnell Nurse and how he's responded with Clefbong being gone and having a bigger role with this team. I'd love to see responsibility put on the shoulders of some of these young D. They might be a little bit young, but I just want to see what they do, and it would just help them moving forward, I think, for the most part.
Hernan, let's quickly hit on Leon Draisaitl here as well. Didn't even play 18 minutes last game. Has been getting a little bit of rest along the way here while some of his teammates practice. To me, it just looks like he's lacking a little bit of explosiveness. Your thoughts on him playing through whatever he's playing through and how effective he's still able to. He had 6 points in 3 games coming into Saturday night, so it's not like his production has dried up in any way, shape, or form, but just your thoughts on how he looks Saturday.
Uh-oh.
We can't hear him.
Hernan, we can't hear you.
Sorry, how about there?
Oh, there he is.
There we go. Now you're good.
My bad. No, like just watching him live at the game on Saturday, it's he was missing that explosiveness. He was still making some nice little passes here and there, and I mean, don't read too much into it, but every time he went to the bench, it was really slow. He was always banging his stick. Even once he slashed Engvall for no reason. He just gave him a nice slash. It was funny because Engvall just kind of looked at him like, what's your problem? And so obviously it seems like he's frustrated a bit. Again, like you said, he had 6 points in the previous 3 games. And then Dave Tippett was asked after the game as well, and he said, it's nothing serious. It's nothing that's going to keep him out. So you got to trust in what the coach says, and it sounds like he was out at practice this morning. So obviously maybe just bumps and bruises, but it doesn't seem like anything serious. And I'm expecting the 2 big guys for the Oilers to have a good night tonight. So
if I was gonna bet on it, I would say he's got like a Charlie horse, to use the simple term, like a contusion, something like that. Because he did. I thought it looked like even when he was skating, like he didn't quite. I wouldn't say his equivalent of limping, but it was slightly like he just didn't have the same push as normal. And to me, that would be a symptom of something like that, where it's not a major injury, it's not anything that necessarily will keep you out of the lineup, but you may just not have the pop that you normally would. And certainly for a guy that plays as many minutes as Leon, it's very possible that you got hit with a puck, or you got, someone bumped you and you got a knee to the thigh, whatever it may be. That's just slowing you down a little bit. So he looked a little banged up to me. Again, if Tippett's saying it's nothing that's going to keep him out of the lineup, he's probably not going to miss any games. But some of that stuff, it can wear on you, and it can take a week or two till you bounce back to 100%.
And keep in mind, boys, that game, Tippett really liked his third and fourth lines, so that's why you saw more even ice times throughout the whole lines, and the top two were really going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought they were all right. Okay, before we continue with, we got to talk about it. We are now officially 16 minutes into this episode. Not one of you pricks said anything about my haircut. Not one.
Mine too.
Not one. Well, you got one. Well, you have a hat on, Hernan. Ooh, it looks nice. It looks tight. You go with a little bit more of the lower on the sides than me. I went for the Cass look. How's it look, Cass?
It looks pretty good. You know what? The issue is you're normally wearing a ball cap, so I didn't realize that you didn't have it last Thursday.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it looks, you look good. You look real good. It's nice and tight. A little bit of a fade to it.
Mr. Barber special.
Yeah, disappointed you're not full chin strap, but it looks good.
Charge, Shin Strap Awareness Month. Gager, sorry to bring up the haircut here, buddy. I saw right away your heart broke. It's like Ralph Wiggum.
Whatever. It's like when we talk about, now I know how Hernan feels when we talk about Marvel stuff.
Same sort of thing, you're right.
Yeah.
All right, Gager, what do we got to talk about, buddy?
Well, let's go over to Chicago and talk about Patty Kane and scoring his 400th goal. Typical Pat Kane fashion where, well, I hate it. The D-man goes down. How can you lay down with Patrick Kane with the puck? That's the dumbest thing ever. Just shoot yourself in the own foot. And then the poise has it on his stick and just rips it short side, gives him the patented Pat Kane like pumpernickel. Like, I love his celebrations when he scores. It's almost Ovechkin like when he scores, right? And I really think he's top 5 most dangerous players with the puck in the league. Him and Connor, it might be 1-2 with him and Connor. He just does so much. He passes his backhand passes. I mean, we rave about Leon, but you watch Patrick Kane do it too. It's a sight to see. And really moving forward, looking at Chicago, what he's doing with that team, like everyone thought these guys are going to be in the basement, and with Doc out and Taze out, like this is really amazing what Patrick Kane is actually doing down there in Chicago. And I mean, if this keeps going, I would have to put him in the front running to get the Hart Trophy, because if he can carry that Chicago team to a playoff spot, I think it's a no-brainer that he wins it this year.
Yeah, even if Connor gets 100 points?
Yeah, because, well, to me, yes. Connor's playing on with better players. I know we say that before. I just think with the team that Chicago has, and I mean their goalies are even. I was looking at their goalie stats. Their goalies were supposed to be terrible, and they're not doing bad. I think it's his whole vibe's contagious throughout that whole lineup. And the MVP of the league, it's not just being the best player. And I think Connor is the best player, but Patrick Kane means more to his team than any other player on any other team. Because if you look at that roster, I think he just means more. And that's an MVP to me. He's
second in NHL scoring.
Yeah.
And
he's got
34
ridiculous
points. It's crazy. Every time you see a box score involving the Blackhawks, it's Kane, DeBrincat, Kane. Like, yeah. Seriously, it's like, holy crap. Like, yeah, the guy is fantastic. And like you said, Gager, this is a team we all counted out.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. P. Kane he's a winner, man. He knows what it takes, and he's leading that team, and it's great to see, man.
I view him as kind of like the forgotten superstar of this generation, because it was Crosby and Ovi. And then that kind of transitioned into Connor McDavid and Leon Matthews and what the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing. And kind of lost in the middle of it from an individual perspective was Pat Kane not only winning Stanley Cups on really good teams, but won a Calder, had an excellent rookie season, like a tremendous rookie season. Won a Calder, won an Art Ross, won a Conn Smythe, won a Hart. Like, he pretty much has won everything. And now in his early 30s, dude's on pace for like a 100-point season in a regular year, which is crazy to think that a guy who doesn't have a ton of size or isn't the fastest guy there, he still gets around well, but I mean, he's not going to be flying around there with Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid at this stage of his career. So he always just has kind of been, that number 2 or 3. And as the other guys have fallen off, Pat Kane offensively from a danger perspective, like Gage said, just kind of hangs around right there. And Cass, it's pretty damn impressive.
I was going to ask, do you guys think he's going to be a Hall of Famer?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to ask you, do you think is he the best American-born hockey player ever?
Ever?
Yeah.
Oh, there's still some pretty good ones. Like,
I know, but look at like what Dusty had just mentioned. Conn Smythe, 3 cups, dynasty team, Stanley Cup winning goal.
Yeah. Did Modano win a Conn Smythe?
No,
I don't think he won the Conn Smythe that year. No. I mean, that's who I think, but I mean, if you look at just hardware alone, Pat Kane's done more than Modano.
Yeah.
It's true.
So the guys in front of him right now, points-wise, Joel Mullen, Keith Tkachuk, Jeremy Roenick, Phil Housley, Mike Modano, and Brett Hull.
Yeah, Brett Hull, I'd probably have ahead of him. But that might be it, to be honest with you.
I think that might be it, really, because Hull has
when you
how
put
many
all
cups?
of it together.
3, 3 cups, I think. I don't know. He's definitely top 3 for sure. And if he keeps going, like, he doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. Does he eventually pass? Like, I mean, that Chicago team is a completely different team with Doc and Taze in it at 100%, I think, anyway, if they keep playing the way they are. They're playing the Lightning next, so that would be an interesting game to watch, just because the Lightning are the best team, I think, in the league right now.
Well, he'll pass Mullen. He'll pass Mullen and Tkachuk this season because he's only like 8 and 6 points behind them. So he'll be
in
top
my
5.
opinion, Tkachuk's not even in that class with Pat Kane from like what he accomplished. Like, when you laid out the hardware, Gage, you're right. Like, how many NHL American players can say Calder, Conn Smythe, Hart, Art Ross? Like, there probably isn't one.
3 cups. Like, yeah,
not bad. All right, so that's a good story. Go ahead, Cass.
Said Andy likes to party.
Andy parties. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Hernan, how about we switch gears here and go with a bad story?
Yeah, man. Just oh boy, watching Buffalo over this. I actually sat there and watched that game yesterday, and I know I tweeted about it. Like, it just reminds you of the Oilers when they couldn't figure it out, like many years ago. I mean, new GM this year. They're probably gonna have a new coach here soon. They got some elite talent: Dahlin, Eichel, Taylor Hall. Their goaltending's questionable. And they got some bad contracts, and they got some young guys coming up like a Dylan Cousins, but they just can't figure it out. They were shut out this weekend. They didn't score a goal. You heard Eichel say, kind of contradict what his coach said about his injury. There's a mess there. You heard Dahlin say after the game that they need to I can't remember what he said, something about they need to obviously be better. And then Eichel said, there's a disconnect in this group right now. So I don't know, guys. Like, this is another team where I like I said, if you like the Oilers, they're currently in 30th in the NHL, and I don't know if they can turn it around. I mean, from what we've seen from this team and their core, it doesn't seem they can. So Ralph Kruger's taking a lot of heat, and the funny part is just seeing the Buffalo media and then seeing the fans' reaction to their tweets, and it reminds me again of us here when the Oilers were just just an awful mess. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on what the hell is going wrong with the Buffalo Sabres, and is it close to the comparison of the Oilers of years ago?
You guys know what I'll say, so I don't even know if I should say it.
Go ahead, Gager.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a tumor in there that doesn't seem to work when he's added to teams. It's happening again. I don't know. One goal. That's Taylor Hall's got for an $8 million player, and I know they have a $9 million player with the same kind of season going on. But I think, God, I hope it's not this, but he seems like a selfish player, and that kind of attitude. It's with Eichel saying there's a disconnect in the room. I don't know what that is, but that's some tough luggage to bring from team to team every time you go to a new team that seem to underachieve.
And I get what Gager's saying with Taylor Hall, but they've had an issue for years now.
Yeah, they have. That's where I go. It's not a tumor. Yeah, I don't. Their issues have been longer than that. Yeah, and it's difficult to pinpoint what it is because you want to say it's probably not a management issue because you've seen changes in management. You don't know if it's just a coaching issue because you've seen change in coaching, and you don't know if it's just a personnel issue because you've seen a change in player personnel. So you're trying to figure out what is the problem. So you know what it is. You know what it is. I have figured it out. Is Buffalo is way too close to Toronto, and Austin Matthews is just sucked up all the awesomeness and amazingness out of the water. There's nothing left for Buffalo. That well is dry. And you know what? It's killing me because I have Eichel and Hall in almost every single hockey pool I took. And they're just absolutely murdering me.
What was their GM when Connor McDavid was picked?
Was it Botterill? No, was it Botterill?
No, I think it was the guy before that. But anyway, I remember him complaining about it just didn't start Eichel's career off on the right path. Like he was complaining because Edmonton had got it and how they deserved McDavid and he should have came here and
Tim Murray.
And they were getting a great player and they were just already saying, "Oh, we lost this too." Yeah, it didn't start out on the best because I love watching Eichel play. I find him and Taylor are kind of similar, just that long stride and like silky smooth kind of skating style. But man, I really thought that they were going to be a lot better this year. I was looking forward to seeing that tandem go. But geez, I mean, they're looking at their record though. They're what, 6 wins, 10 losses. Like they could. I mean, 4 games they're back to 500. I don't know.
It's not happening, Gager.
It's probably not going to happen.
They're 10
I'm just trying to be. I was so negative. I want to be a little bit positive. Jeez.
They're 10 points out of 4th place in their division right now.
Yeah, they're done. They're done. And we'll come back around to Taylor Hall and keep it or clip it. But if you're Buffalo and you've got Jack Eichel, who's your leader, saying there's a disconnect, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's a disconnect, does that not partly fall on the captain and the leader of the team? And we've already heard him say multiple times, he wants things to get better. He's frustrated with how things are in Buffalo. Cass, is it crazy to think that the best thing for the Sabres could possibly be to move Jack Eichel for an absolute haul in return?
Well, what?
Not that haul, Gager, if that's what you're wondering.
What are you gonna get that's gonna replace him?
Well, I think you start over with Lafreniere and something out of New York, or I don't know. It just hasn't worked.
The theory of trading star players to me is just, my theory behind it is just diminishing returns. Like when, and name me maybe 1 or 2 in you could maybe name me when a star player has been traded and for what looks like a haul, and that haul has turned out better than the player was.
Adam Larson, he's playing great right now.
I mean, Eric Lindros. They got a ton in return for Eric Lindros.
Oh yeah,
that was a pretty good haul. But that's an
got Forsberg
all-timer.
in that
I mean, I'm cherry picking there. That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's one.
Yeah,
That's the only one, I think.
Yeah, because
So,
if you look,
but
let's
when
say,
they're all-
here's an example,
Doesn't happen.
and it's earlier, but remember when they traded Joe Thornton? What'd they get? Like Marco Sturm, 2 other guys that I can't even remember right now. And you're like, oh, got quite a bit for Joe Thornton. Well, Joe Thornton went on to have a hell of a career with the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah.
I don't, unless he's a problem in the room, I don't think you get any better. So to me, if you're trading someone, you trade Taylor Hall because it's a short-term contract. If you can trade him somewhere to get what you can, but you don't trade Eichel because you still have a foundation there in Dahlin, in Eichel, and it just doesn't make sense to me because you're just going to get diminished returns, and ultimately you're going to make yourself worse for a longer period.
Yeah,
We'll see how this thing plays out.
You trade Hall and get some picks.
You have to do that.
You
Right?
have to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Even though
yeah.
there was that report that Hall might want to stay and Buffalo might be interested. Like if you're Taylor Hall, why in the world would you want to stay with another organization that is just, it can't just be money cast. Like you would have to think everybody says Taylor Hall wants to win. Well,
It's the money. It's the money.
I don't know.
Then Eichel today saying that they're keeping it positive, but if they had the answers, they would have figured it out by now. So I don't know. Like, I mean, don't you guys think him contradicting his coach is a red flag?
Well, Ruff Kruger's a pretty greasy dude, so I don't know if you can trust much that he says. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I wouldn't be
It's a
taking
mess.
any Skype calls if I were him right now.
No doubt.
All right, let's do. We got to talk about Alex Stalock, claimed off of waivers by the Edmonton Oilers. If they want to keep him, he'll have to stay on the 23-man roster. They've got some other guys who have the freedom to go taxi squad up and down on, especially among the forwards. Gage, your thoughts on Stalock? His overall career numbers aren't bad, to be honest with you. Does he factor in here at all, do you think?
No, it's tough to say because Smith at his age, I'm waiting for the lug nuts to fall off maybe a little bit, and like he did get injured at the beginning. I think it's some experience picked up if it's needed. I was trying to think if you add him to add him to the taxi squad. Yeah, I like the move just to guard against one of these guys getting injured because both Oilers goalies are in their 30s. One's closer to he's turning 39 this month. So, and I've seen Stalock play a few really good games with the Sharks too when he was there. So, I like it just to shore up the dam if there are some leaks for sure.
Anybody else got any thoughts on Stalock? Like, I think for these two guys, this is a good number 3 guy to have because he could come in and play for you.
Yeah, no, smaller guy, pretty athletic. I saw him play a couple times in Minnesota when I was down there doing some work stuff and got a chance to watch. I think it's a great pickup. It gives you have flexibility with your roster, with the taxi squads. Like you're not stuck into anything. So I don't think you lose that much by keeping him on your normal roster. And to me, it's insurance. If someone gets hurt, you have him. If someone starts playing terribly, you have him. So it makes sense to me. I think, what's his contract at? I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think
just over 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So, to me, you look at it and I go like, okay, he fits for what you're looking for.
Somebody gets injured, he comes in, plays extremely well. He's starting game 1 of the playoffs. There you go.
Yes.
And he's coming
not
off
crazy to think if he gets an opportunity, he could steal a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking forward, Mike Smith, are you going to sign him again to a 1-year deal or,
Or I don't have with him Stalock at like 1, paying him just over 1 or right around 1 per for the next 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, we got Mikko for what, another 5? What?
I just want to quickly hit on. Go ahead, Hernan.
He's coming off his best year too, and he played all the games in the bubble playoffs, right? So This is a guy that I may agree with Dusty. I think he's definitely going to push for some games here. So yeah, I think it's a great pickup.
Not a bad idea. Gage, I just wanted to bring it back to Gager's conversation on Kane quickly. Just saw the updated odds for the Hart Trophy. It's McDavid, Matthews, and Pat Kane right now is number 3 in voting. So, Gager, your guy's got a chance, buddy. Your guy's got a chance.
Just like my wife tells me. You got a chance.
All right, let's go to Keep It or Clip It. I've got 4 questions here. Let's start with this one. The Blue Jackets, who are winless in their last 5, it's time for Torts to be worried. Keep it or clip it.
I'm gonna clip it. I think he's fine until next year, and when a star player starts complaining about him. I think we got one more year.
I'll clip it too. I think if we were in the normal times, I think he'd be in bigger trouble. But with quarantining and the pandemic and all that, like, just ride it out with him. See if he can turn the team around. So I'll clip it.
Do we lose Cass?
No.
Where did
I think Cass
go?
was going to say they were going to go get. They're going to go get Babcock after this year. So.
That would be okay. There he is. Cass is back. Cass, we lost you for a second. Keep it or clip it on Torts being worried.
Yeah, I'm going to clip it as well, but for different reasons. I don't think it's Torts that's worried. I think it's your GM that should be worried, because I think a lot of the blame for this falls on you and some of the moves you have made the last couple of years that haven't panned out.
All right, question number 2. The Canucks should view themselves as sellers in the North moving forward this season as we creep towards the deadline. Keep it or clip it.
Yeah, I'll step out on a limb and say keep it. They're probably, barring a massive turnaround, not going to make the playoffs. And so if you have some pieces you can move, betting should move them.
Who are they going to move, though? That's what I'm.
I think Tanner Pearson for sure.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Dusty?
I said Tanner Pearson.
Yeah. Oh, he'd be. Yeah. Yeah.
Brandon Sutter.
I'm gonna keep it. Yeah. They're not. I don't see them making a push now. They're gonna have to look to next year. I think Sellers for sure. Keep it.
Yeah, I'm with the boys. I mean, I know it's probably not, but wouldn't they like to get away from that Beagle contract and a few of the bottom 6, which are going to be tough to move? But I think they will be trying to move some players out here just to gain some cap flexibility.
Well, I think it's a genius move because, Calgary, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Montreal, and Toronto aren't going to do it. So if they want to trade for players who don't have to quarantine, then Vancouver's your team. Like, there's Ottawa too. But you're sitting there looking at those 5 teams saying, hey, where you want Tanner Pearson's trade value this year will never be higher than it has before or ever again, because the 5 Canadian teams can get him and bring him in right now, and they're all going to be competing with each other. I think you could actually get way better value for a few of those guys than you should be able to in a regular year. So we'll see how it goes, but we'll see what happens with the Canucks. Okay, let's go with this one. Brady Tkachuk will end up having a better career than Matthew Tkachuk. Keep it or clip it.
Ooh, good question.
I'm going to keep it. I think there's a little bit more skill with Brady, and he's a bigger body too. He seems huge out there. And they always said that he was always a little better than his big brother. So I'm going to go with what his dad said.
Go ahead, Cass.
I'll clip it. Not because Brady probably ends up with more points, but I'm going to clip it because Matthew is going to be a heck of a lot more entertaining. So I'm going to judge it based on that. He's going to have a better career because he's going to be a lot more fun for us to watch.
We're going to be talking about him a lot more. That's for sure.
Fine, man. This one's tough. I kind of agree with both the guys. I mean, I think Matthew has more skill. Have you seen those attempts between the legs? He tries to score that goal, and he's getting closer and closer. I think Brady Tkachuk he's the top guy there in Ottawa right now, where Tkachuk has Gaudreau and Monahan. So I'll clip it. I'll stick with Matthew Tkachuk.
All right, last question. Bring it up here. Taylor Hall won't ever get $8 million or more per year in a contract ever again. Keep it or clip it.
Yeah. Well,
1 year, $8 million is what he's on right now.
I don't know how that's an $8 million goal. That's a lot per goal. Like,
buddy, he scored in the first 10 minutes of the season. Hasn't scored
I know.
since.
I watched that.
It's unbelievable. Like, even for us who might not be the biggest Taylor Hall supporters, it is ridiculous that guy hasn't scored a goal since then.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if you're a GM, can you give him $8 million a year next year? I don't think you. If he doesn't, I'm pretty sure he's going to score at least a couple more this year. But if I'm a GM, there's no way I am giving him that amount of money again. That's there's no chance. But I'm just trying to think what that number is after, like, he went there thinking I'm going to be able to cash in after this year. Like, I think this was like a stepping stone year almost, but with the flat cap next year, how much, I mean, he's looking at the league minimum right now.
I'll clip it because, guys, what we've learned from NHL GMs, they never learn. So someone's going to sign him and give him money, regardless of how many goals he scores this year, because there's a lot of GMs that just don't learn their lesson.
Do you think they pay him over 8 though? I'm going to clip it. I think someone signs him, and it may be for too much, but it'll probably be like in that 7.5 range
for like 5 or 6 years, right? Like, he'll still get somebody
time.
to do that.
If they're going for time and not just a 1 year, if he signed a 1 year deal, maybe he hits that $8 million, but he doesn't want to sign. He's not going to want to sign a 1 year. So you're gonna see it at like 7.25, 7.5 for like 4 or 5.
The Oilers will sign him for 6 years at $4.5 million.
Oh man, could you imagine this market if he came back? It would be something else, man. Something else. All right. Give me a prediction. Let's wrap up with a prediction tonight against the Leafs. Gage, or do the Oilers bounce back? And if so, how do they do it?
I'm sorry, I don't think the Oilers are going to bounce back tonight, boys. I think they're not. They're going to lose this one 5-2. It'll be a better game, but the Leafs it's going to be 3-2 going into the third, Leafs, and then they're going to blow the doors open because the Oilers have to play a little catch up.
I'll say I think the Oilers do bounce back. I'll say 4-2, and the big guys for the Edmonton Oilers lead the way.
I was going to say they bounce back and they take advantage of Austin Matthews' limp wrist. And they win 4-3.
2-0 without Matthews, the Leafs, so it's probably a good strategy that it looks like he won't play tonight.
Yeah, then they'll go to 3-0 without Matthews killing his heart campaign, which some people will be like, listen, the Leafs need to start throwing some games without Matthews, so he looks more valuable than he is. All right, that's going to do it. Episode 121 brought to you by our friends at Coolbet Canada. I think we should go with episode 121. Cass, give me that "it's not a tumor" again. That was good.
It's not a tumor.
There you go. Episode 121. It's not a tumor. All right. If you've been watching on the live stream.
Is that the words Austin Matthews, though? Is Matthews the tumor? Because, I mean, the Leafs are rolling right now.
So many options, I guess. If you've been watching on the live stream or you're watching on the archive stream, subscribe to the podcast. You can find Two Guys and a Goalie on all of your podcast platforms. Also available on tsn1260.ca. Boys, enjoy the next couple of days. We will have a 3-game set complete to discuss on Thursday's episode, which is going to be a good one. We'll talk to you then.
All right. Later, boys.